Hey everyone, it's Will, Gamer Dad, with another video for you. So in today's video, we're going to go over Mighty, of course, as a true manifest, and I'll do a little bit of gameplay and let you know what I think about him. Now, the most important question of all is he hot or not?
He's hot. I want to see his mighty staff in action.
Gamer1 with another sus comment. Anyways, Mighty is definitely much better with his true manifest over his original manifest, although it's up to you whether or not you want to use him. With his VC, again with the VC Grasta, water type resistance down 30% for 2 turns. I would say his VC is definitely outdated at this point, especially with his true manifest giving a little bit of type resistance down when you're using his specialized moves. Now, in terms of the 3 moves, you can obviously still use Aqua Wall as a defense, physical 15, and obviously fire type 50% shielding. You also do have the Aqua Spread, which is great for farming, low MP cost, and it does do AoE, which clears most enemies. Now, in terms of his 2 5-star upgraded moves, the Waterfall is a preemptive now, water type magic AoE. This one now gives int down 30 for 5 turns, and when max HP increases damage 3 times, and also inflicts sleep. Now, sleep sounds like a great status. However, obviously, most tougher mobs, horrors, as well as most bosses and super bosses also resist or completely immune to sleep. So, you can take it for what it's worth. And same with Nightmare Gift. Water type magic attack on a single enemy XL times 2. The type resistance down 30, stackable with 3 is really, really good actually, and much needed on magic teams. Again, can inflict sleep, and when match HP increase strength times 3. This one also stacks int and speed 50% for a total of 100% when getting 3 full stacks. So that really does improve his DPS, especially as a mage for water. Now, of course, the most common question will be to compare him to Eva, and I will have a short demo later on in this video, so watch for that if you are interested in seeing what the difference is. The results might actually surprise you. So, of course, his 5-star board. Remember that because he's an older unit, his stats are definitely lower than some of the newer units out there, so keep that in mind as well. He's also very, very slow. With his true manifest, he does get a little bit more int, and obviously with his new moves, he gets some speed as well. So, let's take him out for a spin. If you haven't already, make sure you like and subscribe to my channel. I really appreciate it. I also do have a Patreon account for those who want to support me this way. So, Aqua Wall, tried and true way to help prevent any fire attacks against water units. And his Waterfall obviously is also really, really good against magic users since it's preemptive now. And, the trend is definitely to look for preemptive moves, especially if they can do power down or int down in the 30 or 35% range. And again, we can also use Aqua Spread. Mighty, even at this point with his high int, his Aqua Spread can clear the mobs with ease, especially if you're farming, and obviously there's other ways to farm, such as 0 MP cost, but still, just another added use, especially if you have him and you don't have that many other 5 stars. Now, what you really want to see is when you start stacking him, his moves 3 times, he is getting the type resist down, stacked 3 times, and obviously you can stun lock in terms of using sleep over and over again against weaker horrors. Now, obviously, again, like I said before, higher end horrors will not work that way. And one other major downside to Mighty, he does not crit set himself. So you do need a crit setter, or if you want to not use his manifest and use something like Void, you can do so at the expense of int and speed bonuses plus 30. So, in terms of his overall DPS, since it is not now much improved, and the fact that you do have that guaranteed preemptive 30% int down, you can really use them in things like boss rush, where the int down, for example, protected against that first turn AoE so you don't die. So very, very useful, similar to the true manifest for Xion, which is power down, and of course waifu Suzette also has power down. So he fits very well in magic teams, and with the proper support, either with guaranteed crits from things like Horai Jewel's crit setting, or even something weaker like Mario's Holy Burst, he can actually do quite a bit of damage once he starts stacking the 3 stacks. Remember that his 3 stacks get a maximum of essentially 100% or double speed and double int, and you can imagine that is really good. Most stacks have diminishing returns over time, and so just like that, one hit is already like, more than 10 million. All right. So obviously I do have Eva in this team just for kicks. However, this is not the focus of Eva, although like I said, most people are going to compare Eva to Mighty. There's no real doubt that Eva is much more powerful. She has a lot more versatility, and she also has, two types of magic attacks, crystal and water. However, again, for people who don't have Eva, which is probably some of you, Mighty is still very useful, and you can see just the amount of DPS he can create. So right there, hits the HP stopper right off the bat, and remember now that he's been out in battle a few turns, he does have the full 3 stacks available, and they do stay there for a number of turns as long as you kind of refresh it if needed. And to be fair, Nightmare Gift is going to be your go-to move for him all the time anyways. I don't think people are going to be using Waterfall unless you really need that int down. Now, if you're wondering, this is stage 5 of the Trial to Light the Darkness, which is obviously one of the older boss rush. This is still extreme mode, so, it is challenging for some of you, especially if you are relatively new to the game, have a limited roster, and so on and so forth. And, if you happen to have gotten Mighty as one of your earlier units, you're probably wondering, Mighty sucks, not very good, so on and so forth. And I will say, again, just like Xion, without his true manifest, yeah, he's pretty much in the backbench. I haven't used Mighty for a very long time until just testing him out today as a true manifest, and his numbers are actually quite good. With the full stacks of the int and speed, I mean, he can keep up with the rest of the magic units, and to be fair, we now can guarantee a dedicated water magic team with the likes of, for example, Mighty, Eva. You even have AS Levia if needed. You can use Flame Lapis, which is coming out later on. I mean, you can have actually a 4 frontline magic water units against enemies weak to water. And so I'm guessing that eventually the next boss rush will have a stage or multiple stages weak to water, whereas right now I think they only have ones weak to wind, earth, and fire, I think, right? Okay, so again, pretty standard stuff. We're going to use Meryl as a Grasta carrier, although later on you'll see that other units can be used as well. Obviously, you can move the Grasta around depending on your needs. Okay, so this is another relatively tricky fight back in the day. Extreme Stage 7 of Trial to Light the Darkness, and for those who don't know, this is the stage that you can get that Fire Zone Grasta, which a lot of you are probably looking for if you haven't already gotten it. Okay, and so here we are focusing on using him as our main DPS in conjunction with obviously having 2 Magic Zone setters. Now remember that if you do have both Magic Zone setters up front, aka AS Rosetta as well as AS Chio, both of their end of turn boosts do kick in, which can really allow your magic teams to do really well. So keep in mind that you want to really have a turn where all 4 of your mages attack. That way you get that end of turn boost with both with the maximum, which is 4 hits, and then you can just let loose with your AF and set up for the next phase. So remember that there are, in this case, 4 waves in stage 7, and what we're really doing here is just, we could have beaten this wave without an AF. However, we're just trying to stack all the shielding, all the 3 int and speed stacks on Mighty, and then really have that end of turn boost, get that mental focus, and so on and so forth. Now, even though Chio AS is a powerhouse, her role really here is to set Pain and Poison as a preemptive move with Horai Jewel, and just let the rest of the team take care of business. Now, obviously, we do need a crit setter, so we do have both Horai Jewel as well as using Sturm Regen, which is from AS Dunarith, and that can set crit as well. That one also gives type damage up 50 and weapon or staff damage up 50 as well, although again you're getting a lot of diminishing returns because of the fact that you have 2 end of turn boosts with Magic Zone Setter. So in this case you probably don't need Dunarith nearly as much, but this is the team of 4 I decided to bring with. In my initial attempts to take down this fight, being that a lot of the enemies are weak to magic, I did bring AS Myris and so on and so forth, but nowadays we have a lot more versatility and variability in our magic teams, and so you can use something like this as your team of 4 against these bosses. I also realized that you can use a completely free team such as the Tails of and so on and so forth, but the great thing about the game is you can use completely free units if you want to. You can use a mix of gacha and free, or you can use high-end all Grasta, all gacha units as well, depending on what your preferences are. In this case, we're just demonstrating Mighty, and I'm really having a little bit of fun, being that I haven't used them for such a long time. So you can see 17 million times 2 right off the bat, and the fact that without True Manifest, you won't even see numbers like that, right? And remember earlier I said you need a crit setter? Well, with this right team and properly supported, he can do a ton of damage, and so we're just going to AF right here. The Ochre and Korm obviously has a 50% HP stopper. The Beast King Gildan does not. And if you just watch the number, watch his hits versus some of the other hits out there. So obviously you can see that he can do a tremendous amount of damage, and again, very comparable to some of the other more powerful magic DPS in the game. If you do need obviously a water enemy weak to water, then Mighty is going to shine even better than people like the AS Rosetta, AS Dunarith, and AS Chio. So I would say that even though he's old, not bad at all, and can definitely fit in and be relevant again, which is the whole point of having these True Manifests, right? You can dust off those really old 3-year-old units. They are refreshed, obviously not as powerful as some of the new meta gacha units, however, still not bad at all. Okay, pretty standard stuff in terms of Grasta setup. Alright, so let me know in the comments below, after watching these first 3 True Manifest fights, are you planning to use Mighty, Xion, and Suzette? Or are they going to just sit in the backbench while you use the likes of AS Kikyo, AS Akane with Manifest, or even Eva? Alright, so in our final example, you wanted to see, Eva up front versus Mighty. Now, surprisingly, that damage is actually closer than you expect. Obviously, it depends on the situation. Remember that Eva, obviously, her limitations are that her lunatic only lasts for 3 turns. You can activate it again, of course, but it's when the enemy has more than 50% HP is where you really see her do a ton of damage, because she can do 4 hits instead of 2. She starts with lunatic, obviously, so the mind's eye is all there, and it gets weakness, like enemies weak to water. She will destroy Mighty hands down. Now, keep in mind that if you're fighting an enemy who's neutral to water, watch near the end, during the AF, like, her damage is still very, very high because she can get actually 4 hits in. But it's not like Mighty's doing terrible amounts of damage either, right? He's still doing a comparable amount of damage, just right there, 70 and 30. 70 and 35. So, obviously it's not hundreds of millions, but hey, not everyone has Eva, like I said, and why not have 2 water mages instead of 1? Okay, so right now we're going to go after the first HP stopper. We just want to see what kind of damage she's doing. So remember that that's 2 hits, 20 and 50, and note that Mighty right after did a very comparable amount of damage, because remember, after the 50% HP stopper, or after HP 50 is hit, she doesn't get those 4 hits anymore. And so not to say that she's exactly the same as Mighty. I just want to say in this particular example, the damage isn't nearly as far off as you would imagine. And so I was actually really surprised when I saw that thing. Keep in mind that obviously she doesn't have bullseye on and stuff like that either. So if you optimize both, Eva will obviously do a lot of damage, but the whole purpose is to just show you that Mighty is still can keep up with the best of them. So in conclusion, if you have an old Mighty, now you can actually try to use him in Magic Zone teams. Keep in mind he needs a lot of support, but he's certainly improved over before. And if you need a water mage to fit your needs and you don't have someone like Eva or even the upcoming Flame Lapis, I think he'll do just fine. Anyways, thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.